We'll give it 1 more minute and we will start. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another exciting webinar this afternoon, jointly organized by NATM and BATM. Just a few housekeeping rules before we start. So we are recording this session for those members of our association that are not able to join in person today so that they can watch the recording afterwards. And secondly, if you have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to use the chat function in Zoom, and we will be more than happy to ask those questions to the speaker of this afternoon. And now it is my pleasure to welcome and introduce to you Johnny Thorson from Spotnana, who will explain more about the offering that they have or the innovation that they have created for the corporate travel industry. Johnny, the floor is all yours, and thank you very much for accepting our invitation.
Thank you very much, Pascal and Odette, and thanks a lot to both BATM and NATM for inviting me to this kind of series. I know I spoke for some of you last year in Breda. And of course, a lot of things have happened since then in our industry. Most importantly, we are all starting to travel again. So it's kind of the beginning of hopefully a long positive phase where we will see a lot of growth and innovation in this industry. So I'm going to give you an idea today about what we do in Spotnana with a brief kind of intro, and then going to go live and give you a walkthrough / demo of some of the kind of key capabilities we offer. And if there are questions, please fire away in the chat. Odette will kind of keep me informed on the side, and I will either try and answer them during the session or have some time at the end for Q&A. So that's the plan here. So Spotnana, we came out of stealth mode in September last year. So we're kind of coming up to our 6-month anniversary in terms of being in the public domain in the travel industry. And an incredible amount of things have happened in those 6 months. Most importantly, the product has evolved dramatically and keeps evolving. We are now close to 150 people in Spotnana, and all we are focused about is to develop technology that allow us to rebuild trust in travel. We have a lot of challenges that I'm not going to go into in details, but at the end of the day, travel buyers want to know that they are given the right choices by their suppliers and service providers, and they want to have transparency and the ability to audit and keep track on everything without having invisible bias or content protection or anything else going on in the background. We provide that capability effectively via our new platform, which is an open travel ecosystem. It's native cloud, which means this is not something that's been built on a server and then moved into kind of a pseudo cloud trying to look like a cloud service. This is built from day one as a cloud capability platform. And everything is built using so-called microservices architecture, which means it's incredibly easy to connect other services into the platform. If they're for one customer only, obviously that's not the most efficient way of doing it, but it can be done. Or we can add new third-party solutions into the platform, and customers can then widely select what they want to use. We deliver our technology to corporations, technology providers, industry suppliers, and TMCs. And that's important because when you think about those 4 group of potential customers for us, they all do different things. They all have different demands and different kind of requirements. But by working with all 4 groups, we kind of create this common platform where everybody see the same at the same time, and they have the same rules and share the same data. In other words, we no longer have to keep moving data between many different systems using PNR queuing, data file handoffs, or other kind of complex, inefficient way of sharing data. So obviously today, I assume there are mostly buyers in this call, but I know there are also some both travel suppliers and technology providers. So I'm going to kind of keep all of you in mind, and not least the TMCs who are servicing the corporate buyers. The platform we're building is designed to deliver value and capabilities for all 4 groups. I'm not going to go into particular details here, right? But these are known problems or challenges that we've been dealing with in the corporate travel industry for many, many years. And a lot of them are driven by the fact that we have this broken model with different systems doing different things and not sharing the same data in real time. In other words, when you look at 5 different travel systems for the corporate buyer, they will typically have 5 different data sets. At some point, 2 or 3 might be showing the same, but odds that all 5 systems have exactly the same data at the same time are very, very low. It's very unlikely. And therefore, the buyer always have to decide, where do I kind of put my procedures in place? What data set do I want to use as my primary data set? And of course, for the traveler, it's all about making life easy, simple, and efficient. And they should not have to jump between many different systems or platforms either. Those days are kind of gone. We want to have a single, call it a super app or a single service platform where everything just blends in, and you don't need to jump between different systems that have different limited capabilities. So by having that platform at the bottom, this really shows how, every single feature or functionality you can imagine in your travel program use the same rule set, meaning travel policy, content preference, etc., and provides the same services and data to all these different areas of functionality. So in other words, personalization and smart or intelligent travel policy should always use the same data set. And obviously policy will normally overrule personal preference, but if there's no rule, then personal preference should immediately take over. It shouldn't be that you can only have one of the two. The two should live together and be intelligent enough to understand when each one wins. This is a slide that really explains how complex the corporate travel stack is. Each of these symbols indicates something that happens in your program. And if nothing else, it gives you an idea of how much you are actually managing as a buyer. And what we are saying as Spotnana is that every one of these symbols is something that we want to provide, but it's also a number of areas where you might want to use something different than what we're building. And if that's the case, then our job is to make that something else easily available for you on top of the same data. So if you don't want to use our duty of care capabilities, you should be able to pick something else and use that. If you don't want to use our sustainability capabilities, you should be able to have something else, but still using your data in our platform. And if your TMC want to work with our platform and provide some services, but have other services outside, that should be possible. And that's really what an open tech stack makes possible. So think of each of these ones as something we can provide, but where you also have the option to take something else if you think that's better. It's not our job to tell you what's best for you. Our job is to make it easy for you to pick what is best for you. And to kind of give an image of what this means, right? To the left, you have an outline of a typical global corporate travel program where the buyer will have one or more TMCs, and you will probably also have one or more booking engines. And in each of these markets, these silos indicated by country, you will always have 2 service models. You will have one for the booking engine, and you will have one for the offline bookings. So with 8 countries in play, you will have minimum 16 service models. That's assuming you only have one booking engine in all 8 markets. And you can see how quickly this becomes very complex for both you and your service providers. On the right, you have an open stack using cloud backend. There's only one. There's one platform where you just decide what should work and how should it work in each of these countries. And if you want to add a new country, you literally just upload employees for that new country and you're live. You don't have to go into a country by country configuration project that takes 3 to 6 months anymore. That's really speeding things up. It's simplifying everything, and it's giving you a real true global standard where you can literally offer the same to everyone, no matter where they're sitting. And you can provide service globally with the single team. So to give you an idea of what this provides, look at this slide and then imagine that you are a corporate traveler starting a search in your so-called booking engine environment. So you enter what you're looking for. That calls our cloud backend. We process the rules. We go out and look at what the company wants to happen. And then we go and get all the relevant content that exists, not what we want you to see, but everything that truly exists. And then we apply your rules and we bring back the result to the traveler. Meanwhile, something has happened. The traveler have to go on the road. So they basically say, you know, I don't have time to complete it. I'm handing it over to the agent. The agent picks up and continue making the booking using the same rules, the same content. Nothing is different because the agent also works on the platform. And the booking gets made. And a little later, the traveler opens the mobile app and they see the booking made by the agent in the Spotnana app. The 3 channels are completely integrated and no longer provide different capabilities or services. So you can jump between them. You can start a chat in the booking engine on your browser, on your laptop, and continue the chat on your mobile app, and eventually go back and look at things on your browser. That's what an integrated cloud backend gives you. And it works because we don't rely on the GDS P&R as the order management system anymore. The GDS is a content source, and of course it's an important one, but it's not where orders or bookings are managed. That happens in our cloud environment without relying on the limitations of data formats, etc. in the P&R world. That's the reason we can do a number of things differently, much faster, and hopefully much better as we evolve. All of this is packaged into kind of the wheel of service. So it gives you an idea of the capabilities that we can provide. And it's important to say that Spotnana can be your TMC if you want us to be both your technology provider and your TMC, or we can be the technology provider for your TMC and you. So your preferred TMC works with our platform. But it's important to point out they have to work with our platform. We are not a standalone booking engine that works next to their offline workflow. We are a new platform for them to work on. So they literally have to change how they work if they want to support you with Spotnana's technology platform. And not all TMCs want to do that. That's absolutely fine and fair. A lot of TMCs have their own preferred ways of wanting to do things. And that's how the market will evolve. We're seeing strong interest from the TMC community for our platform. We have signed several TMCs as new partners who will be providing full support for Spotnana's technology. And things are looking very exciting. So that's the quick kind of a scene setting. Enough of the slides. Let's jump over and do a real-time walkthrough of what this looks like. So I'm just going to stop my screen share here and start somewhere else. Odette, can you confirm you're seeing my screen? It should say, hey, Johnny.
It says, I see it. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So we are now looking at what you would call the booking engine in the traditional corporate travel world, right? So this is the user interface a corporate traveler in your company will look at if they want to search for travel. We have a different user interface on the platform for the TMC team servicing you. So they will have more capabilities, they will have more advanced features, but they're basically looking at the same content with the same rules applied, whether it's a traveler-made booking or an agent-assisted booking. So I'm going to start up with a few quick searches just to show what we look like and then go from there. So I'm going out with a search for my home city, and let's say I want to go to New York, and I'll go sometime in late March. The moment I start this search, something happens. We start counting down from 10 seconds because it should not really take longer to get a search result back. And more importantly, if it takes more than 10 seconds, it will actually trigger an alert to our tech team, who will have the ability to go back and see, why did this search take more than 10 seconds? Because we are literally storing each search in our data environment. So whatever I'm looking at now and the next few minutes, I will be able to go back and analyze a month from now, 3 months from now. We literally store what comes back. And you can just imagine as a buyer, what that means in terms of being able to analyze what was actually there when we did the search. Did my airline show my preferred airfare or not? Because how can I book it if it's not there? That's one interesting new capability from having cloud technology in the backend. We can literally store the search results and use them for analysis, which is a very interesting new capability. We also bring back everything. So remember what I said before, we don't filter. Everything comes back. That means I'm also looking at things that are out of policy. But as a traveler, I can say, hey, I know that we have a policy, so I don't want to look at anything that's out of policy. So I can make the move and take things away. And what does that mean? Well, it means I understand why something disappeared. I'm not sitting here scratching my head thinking, why am I seeing this fare on Expedia or airline.com, but not here? I know it's there. So you see it until you decide to take it away as a traveler. You can still define policy as a buyer for what they can and cannot do, and we can prevent certain things from happening, but we are showing everything because that's what the traveler expects to see. Next up, we have created our own cabin class logic, which means if an airline decides to introduce Backpacker Plus as a new cabin class tomorrow, we should hopefully be ready tomorrow. It shouldn't take us 6 to 12 months to develop support for a new cabin class just because the airlines decide to create one. So we can show unlimited cabin classes, and inside each cabin class, we can show unlimited airfares. And we show the airfares using the so-called next generation storefront, NGS. So you have a very easy comparable definition of each airfare bundle. We maintain the name of the airfare from the airline's own marketing terminology. So we don't normalize or standardize the airfare names. We protect the name of the airline. And you see how you can see the breakdown of the different kind of service capabilities in each airfare, including the estimated carbon emission for this aircraft in this cabin class. The airline can define as many airfares as they want in each cabin class. And if you have your own negotiated airfares, they will be clearly highlighted with your corporate logo, so your travelers are aware that there's a negotiated benefit potentially. We also show photos that are literally specific to cabin class. And this is an interesting area because it's not really been available in corporate travel before. It has existed in the leisure channel. So airlines are now able to finally show their retail experience to your travelers when they do search for corporate travel. If I change my cabin class, I will see the pictures change when that's relevant. So now we're looking at United's premium economy cabin class, which is a different seat and a different kind of a spatial layout in the cabin. And if I go all the way to the front, I will see the layout of the cabin class for the front of the plane. So you can see how this becomes a whole new communication channel for the airlines, and they really like these new capabilities. Notice on the right how it says where the source or the data is coming from. So that tells me as a Spotnana person that this is sourced from this particular area. Obviously, we don't expect corporate travelers to see that. The same with this long cryptic number down at the bottom. It's not a bug. It's literally the session ID that I'm running on the server right now. That's how we can track and analyze everything that happened in this particular user session in the future. I also have a few other interesting capabilities. Let's say I'm looking at something I don't understand. Well, in that case, I can literally say, I need some more information or help. I'm going to ask for feedback. So I can literally take a screenshot, I can highlight whatever I'm questioning, and I can send the message off, and this will go straight to the support team behind your account, and they will be able to look at what you did down to the actual search information, because this unique number tells them what you were doing at this point in time. So you don't have to make your own screenshot, go to email, send that off. It all stays inside the platform.
Johnny,
So
do you have time for one question?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a question that says, from which sources are you getting content in your OBT?
So currently we are getting sources from Sabre and from the NDC channel, and we are in active development of the Amadeus support at this point in time, and hope to kind of bring Amadeus support into the platform sometime towards end of Q2, subject to final development and approval from the Amadeus side. And then we will start on Travelport as the next platform. On the NDC front, we are live with American Airlines. That's the one I can name publicly. We have completed NDC developments with several other airlines, but they don't want to be named yet in public. And the point is, if there is an NDC fare available, you will see that being shown just like any other fare. It'll not be a separate place. The NDC content will show up in these content lines exactly like anything else. So I'm going to pick an outbound flight, and now we do the return search, and the return search will bring back what the booking engine and the business logic and the AI engine thinks you are likely to take, combined with what policy tells me I should take. So obviously I can filter and change the results. I can say I only want to look at non-stops, or for some reason one-stops. I can narrow my search results down to one particular airline, and this drop down will always adjust to the airlines that are operating on this city pair. So I'm not going to get a list of all airlines in the world. I'm only looking at the airlines that actually exist operating on this city pair. I can also set time sliders and say I only want to look for flights within a certain time window. And I can even look for type of refund abilities that exist on this search. So that's how I can narrow my search results down to what I'm likely to be taking. If I look for a return, notice, I should have pointed that out, right, that my carbon emission number will literally change with the cabin class I'm looking at. So the premium cabin class offer from United takes more place than Economy Plus, and therefore the number goes up. I'm told I'm out of policy here. Why? Well, because I'm only allowed to go in premium economy on economy on domestic, and I'm currently looking at premium economy. So that's why I'm not allowed to do that. I go back to economy and I pick this one. So next step for a traveler typically is to look at the seat maps. And one of the things we have put a lot of focus on is to make sure that the seat maps matches your frequent flyer status. So you will see seats that you are able to pick at no cost if your frequent flyer status justifies that, which is one of the traditional problems in a lot of the booking engine out there, that they will not allow you to pick seats for free, even if you have the status. So a lot of corporate travelers are used to making an online booking, then go to the airline website and pick their seats because they couldn't do it for free in the booking engine. We have solved that whenever the airline is technically ready and able to support doing it. It will not work for all airlines. Not all airlines have the capability, but when the airlines support it, we will support it. And now I'm basically ready to check out and say, hey, I'm ready to make this booking. And now something happens. I have to decide if the booking I'm about to make is part of an existing trip or if I'm creating a new trip. And the reason for that step is that's how our business model works. We don't charge per booking, we charge per trip. And therefore, obviously, a traveler have the ability to enter more content into an existing trip because very few travelers book everything in one go. They normally start with flights. A few days later, they book hotel. Then they might add a rental car. So you can keep adding content to an existing booking. It doesn't create new cost. We charge per trip. Nothing else matters. And we don't have any online, offline, or no touch pricing. It's the same fee per trip, no matter what goes in and what service is required. I'm not going to make a real booking because we're looking at real inventory. I'm going to go back and do a search for a European content and show what that looks like. So let's say I'm going from Amsterdam to my home airport in Denmark, and we'll go sometime into April for that. So the search happens, and as most of you know, there's a lot of low-cost content around in the European market, and hopefully we are bringing that back. And we're bringing that back using Travel Fusion as our content partner. So the TF indicate this is content coming back to us from Travel Fusion. So I see the low-cost content in a similar way as I see the traditional GDS content or NDC content. There is no difference in how we present the content, which is important for the traveler because that makes their life easy. So here you see Welling airfare as well. And again, you see that the names of the airfares matches what the airline is calling it in their own marketing terminology. So for once you're looking at the same names for everything on the airline website and on the booking engine. Norwegian airfares are also coming through. So you should have full content available for any domestic search or European search or international search. Was there a question coming through? Yep,
Yes.
let's go forward.
Okay, you showed that you were booking out of policy. Can a traveler accept an out of policy proposal? Can they overrule it?
That's the company's decision. So we support no policy or soft policy, where you will be allowed to make the booking, but a notification will go to a designated approver for saying you cannot do this. Or we support hard approval, where you cannot make the booking or complete the booking until an approval has been given. So those are the three levels of approval that exist.
Okay. Thank you. Another question. Does the Spotnana tool allow for API integrations, such as, for example, the Green Tripper API to calculate and compensate carbon emissions?
We do support API integration for third parties. That was part of what I talked about in the beginning. We're currently finalizing our booking data API, which will then allow third parties, carbon calculators, itinerary management solutions, whatever they might be, hotel program optimization products, to access the booking data of a given corporate customer if and only if that customer gives their consent. So in other words, once the customer have said, yeah, company ABC is allowed to access my booking data via the booking data API and provide their service to me. So the carbon calculator we are currently using is the one provided by Atmosphere from Germany. We will support other carbon calculators, and we will also allow companies to use external carbon calculators on their own booking data because there's no single solution that works for everybody.
Clear. Another one is, the question is, so Ryanair is not available in Spotnana?
it is.
Is Ryanair available in Spotnana?
It normally does pop up. I didn't see them on the search. I just did. I'll just do another one here and see if I can show them. And of course, everyone on the call knows that Ryanair's position on being used or accessed by other solutions is that they don't like it. We will show Ryanair, as you can see here, if Travel Fusion can pick them up. So I cannot guarantee that Ryanair will be available on every search, but they normally do pop up if they are operating on the search that I'm doing. And you can see that here.
Thank you, Johnny.
And here, Copenhagen, London is a great example of all the low-cost airlines kind of being there: Norwegian, EasyJet, Ryanair, and the legacy airlines. So that's a very good example of bringing all the content back. Okay, moving on. I just want to briefly show that. Of course, as a corporate traveler, I have a profile. Small detail: we ask you or allow you to put a picture up if you want to. It doesn't change the functionality, but it means the agent can actually see who they are communicating with if they are providing service. And obviously, I have my personal page of information, which I maintain. I have a work page, which is unavailable for me to change. This is the direct HR data feeds into the platform. Because we are cloud-based, we basically support any HR system that has an API, because they all are available in the cloud. And the same with single sign-on. We support all the major single sign-on technologies that exist in the tech world. So it's normally very easy to get those things up and running. That's one of the benefits of the cloud. I have my own preferences. An interesting detail: we allow you to have 3 seat preferences for short haul, medium haul, and long haul. So you can specify different seating preferences for the different kind of length of flights. I can have my loyalty points, and I can have my payment information, and payment is subject to the company's policy. So if the company want to enforce central bill pay, BTA or similar, then I will not be able to charge an air ticket to my own card. I can have a corporate card, or I can have free choice of any card that the company, allow me to pay with. So let's move on and quickly show how hotel and a few other searches work. So I'm going to go for London. No, actually, let's go for Amsterdam or Brussels this time. Oops. And we'll go for sometime in April search. So the UX for hotel search looks very much like air, except of course that there are more pictures immediately when we do the hotel search. I have an option up here to say, to show me sold out properties or not. We are almost done with a similar option that will say only show me corporate preferred properties. So I can again narrow the search down to what is in policy only. Right now we are showing everything. If I go inside a given property, let me find one that we'll go for the Hilton. Then we open up the detailed look at the content from this hotel. And of course, we also bring in the sources of rates that we currently have access to. So we're trying to simplify life for the traveler. And therefore, we are bringing both booking.com and GDS content back in a single view. And we are then grouping it by room type. So here you can see in the room type called Deluxe Queen Room, these are the rates we're getting back from booking.com. I can get a breakdown by night if I'm doing a multi-night search as I'm doing here. And I can see clearly that there are no points, there's no breakfast, there's nothing included, except this fare or this rate, sorry, where I can cancel until the 9th. Further down, there are points, there's cancellation, and so on. So it's very easy for the traveler to understand what they're getting or not getting for the different rate types that they're looking at. And at the very top, I can also do my own filtering and behave like a corporate traveler. I want points. and then all the booking.com rates disappear because none of them are eligible 4 points. I'm just going to change my search and go for a different city and show something that I know I can at least pick up here. So I'll go to London for the same dates. And while I'm doing that search, I can do filtering by hotel name or partial hotel name. I can look for chains by brand name. I can look for amenities that are critical for me. I can look at ratings, or I can set a rate interval that I want to look at. So those are my filtering capabilities. So let's go for a hotel that probably will show out of policy rates as well. Yeah, here we go. So you can see this rate is out of policy. Why? Because it's exceeding our nightly allowance in this destination. So whether you're out of policy in air or hotel, it's very easy for the traveler to understand what rule they are breaking right now. It should be displayed in an easy to understand language, so there's no doubt about what they're doing that's out of policy at this moment in time. And of course, if I select a given rate, then I will once again be, first of all, told you are out of policy. And secondly, do you want to add this to an existing trip or not? So remember that trip container concept, right? It's like a shopping cart when you do normal e-commerce. You add more to your shopping basket, in this case, your trip container. Okay, so going back and jumping to car, just to show we also support that. So let's go to Amsterdam for this one. And we'll look for rental car sometime in March. Display is exactly the same. So users very quickly become familiar with the UX on the platform because it is really consistent all the way through. And of course, here again, I have my filter options by rental car company, by car category, by size or transmission type. And finally, in terms of search, let's do a search for rail. We are live with UK Rail. We are connected to Trainline, if you're wondering what rail content we're getting. And that means we are now able to connect with a number of the rail operators around Europe. We are in talks with SNCF and Deutsche Bahn as the next two ones, and we'll hopefully be adding support for all main European kind of rail operators throughout the year. It's interesting that even when we're connected with Trainline and technically everything is done, it still takes 3 months or more to get the green light from a rail operator to start selling their content. So there's definitely room for improvement in that process, in the business process, but the technology work is done. And you can see how, again, we are trying to present the content in a way that matches the other UXs we're showing. So I'm going to go for an off-peak single on this search. I'll select that and do my return. And same flow, we'll take this one. And now I'm once again being asked if I'm ready to complete or add this into an existing trip or create a new one. I can do my seat preferencing. I'll skip that. And I'm ready to add this to a trip that I have coming up. The final piece of the search or service puzzle is really what else? So if I'm a traveler and I'm looking for something that I haven't been able to find in the 4 search categories, well, then I literally go to help me or the concierge button. And in here, I can say, I would like a service starting on the 28th of March. It could be a complex trip requirement where I have a real complex search. It might be an airport transfer, or it might be something else. No matter what I pick, I can basically enter my information. I can add a screenshot or throw in a hyperlink or something that is relevant, and then send this off. And this will now go to the agent team supporting me. And whatever they do will show up back in my trip library as a service added to an existing trip. So it doesn't live its own life in an email with a separate booking outside the house. It literally lives in the trip container where it belongs. So it's a fully integrated service offering. Throughout the platform, I have chat. Chat will automatically go to the agent team that is servicing me, and it will retain my history. So if I have had an ongoing chat earlier today, I will immediately jump back into that chat and continue. And it'll work the same on the mobile device if I'm on the road and I need help with something that I started from my laptop. We have integration to Sherpa. So if you want to validate what the current travel rules are for COVID-19 requirements, you can do that. So let's say I'm coming from San Francisco and I know I'm going to London in HR here. So I'm going to London in early April, and I can see what the COVID rules are for that time window, based on, of course, Sherpa's current knowledge. So it's very easy for me to get access to this information as part of my planning. Any questions with that before I jump into the admin side?
Yeah, we do.
Yep.
My question, based on what you showed just now, where do you get that information from on the COVID rules?
It comes from Sherpa. It comes from Sherpa.
Okay.
So Sherpa is an example again of a third party plugged into our platform, right? So you can see how they are completely integrated.
Interesting. Okay, a few more questions. To what level can a travel manager manage the tool themselves? For example, to add the lead company locations, preferred hotels, etc., without needing to involve the Spotnana team?
Whoever asked that question clearly read my mind, because that is the next place we are going.
Okay, well, bear with us, I would say.
No, it's very logical, right? Because that's what you would be thinking. So
yeah.
What I just showed you is the traveler side. Now I'm going to jump into the administrator side.
I have a few more questions before you go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fire away. Yep.
There was a question, how could we link, so we could link one-on-one with our HR database, and can it integrate hierarchy if we need different approval levels?
Yes. So yes. Approval is obviously one of the complex areas because of the many different workflow rules that exist out there. So currently our approval workflow, I don't have an admin UX on it, but in the backend, we can define the approval flow that a company wants with one or multiple levels, with a designated individual, or with line manager, or whichever combination. And we're working on making that visible in the administration interface. We are simply just still catching up with the UX on top of the backend. So we support that, and we do support live HR feeds from all the major HR systems out there. So we should automatically get the corporate structure, assuming it exists on the HR side.
Okay. Is it possible to block destinations or add warnings related to safety and security advices?
So doing kind of search and book messaging, we currently, again, we can do it by adding the rules in the backend ourselves. I cannot show the UX for that capability right now. We haven't enabled that, but technically, yes, we can add messaging that will pop up. And as we evolve, you will maintain that messaging yourself in the admin area.
Okay. What about duty of care for corporations? Do you provide or have the capability to connect to one of the duty of care providers?
Yeah, so let me just open a screen for that here. Mm-hmm. So our current duty of care capabilities are limited, but we are now showing where travelers are or have been or will be. So you can take a live look right now and see this is where Spotnana have travelers. I can change the date range and see, I wonder who was where sometime in February. And the data that I'm looking at are shown down here. I can do a so-called traveler report. And when I do that, I can export that report. We also have the ability to provide the live data feed to external duty of care providers, so the ISOSes of the world. So if you tell us where you want your data to go, we will send them there. In Q2, we will be adding more capabilities in our own duty of care offering. So on top of the map, we will also have event matching with real-time risk intelligence from the likes of Riskline. And once we have that running, you will then decide what are the rules for when automatic messaging happens to the travelers, or when you go in and do a manual alert to your impacted travelers. So all the data exists for the duty of care program, and we will be growing our own capabilities, but we will support delivering data to your current duty of care provider today.
Another question. How can you avoid travelers adding different bookings to one trip, although it might refer to two different trips? Date?
Dates, yes, and logical structure, right? So if we see a trip starting on the 1st of April and going from Amsterdam to London and then back to Amsterdam on the 4th of April, then you will not be able to add a kind of Frankfurt hotel booking on the 7th of April. The logical structure of the trip will kind of say that that's not real. So we're looking for that. It's not that we are micromanaging. We actually think travelers themselves will think logically in trips, because I don't want to mix two trips into one itinerary as a traveler. Why would I do that? It doesn't make sense for me. So, you know, human behavior will make it logical.
Okay, I have 3 more questions at this moment. There are various OBTs to choose from offering similar features. What makes Spotnana unique?
So I think what makes us unique is, first of all, that we are native cloud, meaning that everything in the back literally lives in one place real time. So I'm just opening the dashboard. If you were a company buying travel in 20 markets, this would be your real-time global dashboard. It would not be in different countries that were then consolidated on a daily basis or whatever. It's all real-time. Any booking made or changed will immediately impact the dashboards. So that's one significant difference, having it fully integrated in one data backend. Secondly, because we are cloud, we don't do country by country setup anymore. Everything literally lives in one place. And thirdly, our agents also work on this platform. This is the agent interface. So an agent can no longer make an offline booking without your policy. Think about that for a moment. When an agent books in a GDS today, you have no control over what they pick. You really don't. You don't even know what they're looking at. You cannot go back and see what were the search results the agent saw yesterday. You simply don't have that visibility. We give you that visibility. That is a completely new level of transparency and knowledge about what was shown and what was booked. I don't think any other platforms provide that today. So online, offline no longer exist as two different channels. It's just one channel with bookings made by the traveler or by the agent, but with the same rules and the same content all the time.
Another question, will it be possible to keep the booking in an option mode until the date of ticketing in order to book a better fare at a later stage?
So putting a booking on hold, basically. So it's possible, subject to the rules of the airfare, subject to the rules of the airline. So I cannot say blanket, yes, you can do that for every booking. But if the flow around the content selected and the airfare selected makes it possible, then we do have the ability to kind of have bookings running on hold for a period of time. In the backend, and you asked before what's unique about Spotnana, we don't have PNRs processing endlessly for managing bookings, right? We have a trip which consists of a number of bookings, and the bookings can be in GDS, they can be via NDC, it can be via booking.com or somewhere else. but everything lives in this Spotnana order in the backend. And that means we can run new types of automation and workflow integration on the data because everything lives in dedicated fields instead of random remark and passive segment lines in PNRs. So hopefully we will demonstrate as we go forward that we are able to do very intelligent workflow around managing and using these data in new and smarter ways.
One more. In the intro, you mentioned current challenges. Can you tell something about the top 2 current challenges Spotnana is battling at the moment?
One, we are trying to catch up on booking engines that are 15, 20 years old. And of course, we cannot build 15, 20 years functionality in 1 year. So we're balancing it by saying there are certain things we must have, and then there are things we don't think you need anymore because the world have changed. So we're building new capabilities that will literally eliminate the need for old capabilities, and balancing those two are important. Pre-trip approval, a question before, right? That is a must-have. So we have built the functionality in the backend. We have not yet managed to put the nice UX on top of the administration of that. So balancing kind of that old versus new functionality, that's a challenge. The other one is just connecting to all the great content that's out there. We currently, as I said, publicly live with American Airlines as our first NDC airline. We have completed NDC with several other airlines and are getting ready to launch when they and we are both comfortable with that. And we will keep adding more airline connections, and hopefully we will move beyond NDC and move to JSON APIs. A few airlines are ready for that. So getting as much content direct connected as possible is a big challenge for us right now. We're just catching up.
Okay, thank you, Johnny. No.
So
yeah,
I just want to show, because the question was there before, how do I set up a new country, corporate entity or whatever? So let's imagine you are a global company buying travel in many countries, which a lot of you no doubt are. Well, in that case, we effectively duplicate your structure. So you start out by defining a top entity, that's your global head office, and then you can add as many other legal entities, companies or countries as you want. And you literally do it yourself by saying, create new entity. So the moment I do this, I have created a new part of my organization that can start using Spotnana. There is nothing else required, other, of course, adding the employees, which will be going into this new entity, because inside a legal entity, we have employees and potentially officers. So you create them the same way, or you can upload via the HR integration, so everything gets created automatically. Every employee belongs to one or more corporate identifiers, right? They can belong to a department or a cost center or any other relevant information that you want to track on your corporate identifier level. And remember, corporate identifiers are used for policy and for reporting purposes. So, and now also for sustainability if you're doing carbon budget management. So it's designed to support that structure. The users themselves are either added using the human hand API, which is of course the most inefficient one, or more relevant via CSV upload or direct HR data integration to external HR systems. So you just decide which one you want to work with. If you only want to add 3 travelers in one country, you probably do it manually. If you want to add 10 or more, you probably do it by upload in some form. And then finally, we have policy. And policy is where, again, lives become simple for you. You start by defining a single global default policy. That policy will apply to every employee in the world that you give access to this platform. You don't have to build a new policy for Australia or for Germany or for France or for Brazil. It's just a new employee automatically following the default policy. What is the default policy? Well, in this case, we want to have global reporting in dollars. There's no approval required. We do none soft or hard. If it is soft for out of policy, then what is the process? Goes to a designated approver. Who is the approver? Then what are we allowed to buy? So we can have a maximum price, or we can do a more specific rule around what you can buy. I'll show you an example in a second. What cabin class can we apply for domestic or international or for overnight? What are the rules for cabin upgrades? So if there's a cheaper fare available in a better cabin class, why not take it? That would be stupid not to, right? What is the booking window? Refundable tickets. And the same concept for hotels, where you can define your max price per destination. And of course, then we have supplier preference management, which again, we're doing right now in the backend. I don't have the UX I can show you here. So let's say we want to have a group of people who are following a different policy. Now you can select them from the total employee base instead of by country. So the people shown here are based in 3 different countries. They follow one policy. I could add a new group if I wanted to, and select by the logical data elements we have. So I can create a policy called country managers, and then pick one person from each country in your global organization. And now all your country managers are following one policy, no matter where they are in the world. And the policy can be intelligent, as we call it, where you have different rules by cabin class combined with number of hours flown, or it could be max price per hour flown. So you can define that if you fly less than 2 hours, I don't want you to pay more than 250 euros. If you fly between 2.5 and 5 hours, you can pay up to 400 euros. I really don't care who you fly with, what class you fly in, just don't pay more than this. So that's a more modern policy compared to the old school kind of cabin class and preferred airline policy. So we support both combinations. And as I said, all at a global single policy engine level. You no longer do this per country, which is a massive difference. Any other burning questions with that?
Yes. Before we close, I have a few more questions. Is this the end of your demo, or do you have more to show?
And it's the end of what I kind of was planning on showing today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I have a few more questions, and we booked this for an hour. So if you're already able to mention some TMCs that signed up with Spotnana.
Yeah, we currently have 4 TMCs who have joined what we call our travel as a service program, where we provide this technology platform to them, and then they decide how they want to position it to their customers. None of the 4 want to be named right now, so I cannot share their names with you, but they are all so-called, small to mid-sized TMCs. They're not one of the megas. And interestingly, the 4 of them have 4 different strategies for how they want to use our product platform. One will only offer us to new customers. One will offer us to all their offline customers. One, and that's my favorite, will offer it to all the customers who are unhappy with their current booking engine solution. And one will create a new business unit working with our platform as an alternative model compared to their old model. So completely different approaches to servicing their customers in the future. And what's so interesting, all 4 are mid-sized TMCs. They have the typical stack with 8 to 10 different products that are not connected, and they're gluing them together using half of their life in Microsoft Excel. They are tired of that. They want to service customers. They don't want to be a technology company. So they look at our platform as their future platform for working. They don't want to use the GDS point of sale because that's not very smart or efficient or intelligent. It was great in the past, but it's not a modern workflow tool. So we really believe these agencies out there will be perfect for our technology. And so far, the signals are very positive.
Good news. There's no need anymore to roll out country by country from a technical perspective. How do you handle the different regions, countries, as they all need different requirements? And would you still need to do a global rollout involving local entities?
I mean, you can start on day one by adding your top level entity and one employee. And then, tomorrow you can add employees in 20 other countries. They will immediately follow the default policy. You can then build the policies you want for different employees in different places. The challenge, just to be realistic, right? If you have local content in Malaysia, I don't know if we would have that today. If we don't, we will find out how we can get it. For instance, we already support low-cost air in India, which is one of the big requirements that a lot of booking engines are struggling with. We have that covered. So we will try and add your important local content as quickly as possible, but cannot guarantee that everything will be there globally. But launching you globally is really something you can do the moment you have activated the first entity. Then you just add more entities, and travelers in Australia or Brazil or Sweden or wherever can start making bookings the same day.
Johnny, I think it's a wrap. We're losing the participants. Yeah. I want to thank you for the demonstration and your presentation. I had to switch from the computer to my phone. I had different approaches with questions, and people are really enthusiastic. So thank you for taking your time. And to the audience, I say, next week we have our final innovation webinar by Grapevine. If you want to join, register up front. And we hope you enjoyed today's session. And we get some messages, Johnny, saying, big thanks, fantastic presentation, great presentation.
Thank you very much. And remember this, this is a big project, right, to modernize the entire corporate travel tech stack. And it cannot be done in a one-year period, right? No. But we are attacking it as fast as we can, and everybody has been very positive so far out there, both in the technology world and the supplier world.
Good to hear. Thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us again. And to everyone else, have a nice day, and same to you, Johnny. Enjoy your day today. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.